words on the board. And then I want you to turn and talk with your group, and I want you to talk about what you notice and what you might think this can relate to our government. We've been talking about government. So look at the pictures. Turn and talk with your group. How do these pictures relate to our government? Alright, hear me, clap once. Hear me, clap twice. Alright, Jason, what did your group notice? Who's in this picture?
Miss Barton.
Miss Barton. Who is Miss Barton, Penny?
She's our principal.
She's the principal of our school, and we go to South Effingham Elementary. Yes, Jason, did you notice something
And
else?
she's a citizen.
And she's a citizen, just like we're all citizens of the United States. Good. Alright? And then down here, I have Guyton, Georgia. Why do I have Guyton, Georgia down here, Aaron?
Because that's our state.
Not our state, it's our, what is Guyton?
City.
Guyton is our city, and Georgia is our state. So Guyton, Georgia, our school is located in that city. So Miss Barton, did anyone in your group talk about how Miss Barton, she's the leader of South Effingham Elementary? Thumbs up, let me see. Did anyone talk about that in your group? Good, Major, did your group talk about that? Yeah. So Miss Barton, she's the leader, boys and girls, she's the leader of our school, South Effingham Elementary in Guyton, Georgia. Okay? So, since we talked about Miss Barton, today in social studies, we're going to be talking about our different government leaders. So, our government leaders. So, in government, we've been talking about, first we talked about rights and responsibilities, and we talked about rules and laws. So, I want you to turn and talk with your group and tell them what we've learned about rights and responsibilities, and our rules and our laws. Hear me, clap twice. Alright. So when we talk about rights and responsibilities, Lawrence, what did your group talk about with rights and responsibilities?
Our responsibility is we're responsible for our responsibility is like everything you did, you're responsible for what happens.
You have to be responsible for what happens to it. Who can give me an example of how we can be responsible citizens? What's one way, Penny?
Not litter.
Not littering. That's one way we can be responsible. When we talked about rights, remember we connected that with Martin Luther King? How we talked about Martin Luther King?
Because he fought
He fought for what, boys and girls?
the civil rights.
Civil rights. So remember, Lawrence, civil rights, that is our right to be treated fairly, to be treated equally, and the government will protect those rights for us. Then we talked about the difference in rules and laws. Paula, what did you say a rule was?
A rule is something that not everyone has to follow.
Not everyone has to follow it. We can find different rules at school and in our home, right? So who can give me an example of a rule that we follow at school, Jasper?
No one actually always pay attention.
Always pay attention. Good. What's another rule that we follow, Josie? No running in the hallway. So those are rules we follow at school. But one of the rules, remember, we talked about to make the connection being level 0. No talking in the hallway. Remember, Lawrence? Level 0. Does Miss Serena or Miss M, are we always at level 0 in the hallway? No. Because we have to give directions to you guys. So that gives us the example of how not every citizen has to follow a rule. But a law, Peter, what's the difference in a law?
A law everyone has to follow.
everyone has to follow a law. So how everyone has to wear their seatbelt when we go into our car, when we're riding in the car. Yes, Peter?
And follow the signs.
And follow the signs like our traffic signs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's so
Is that
One
you
time
can
my
follow
dad
the
got
signs.
caught and didn't follow a stop sign.
Alright, so these were what we talked about, Natalia. Up front, we talked about that rights, our government protects our rights to be treated equally. Responsibilities are things we can do to be good citizens in our home, school, and community. So in the picture, how they're planting trees and they're wearing their helmet when they're riding the bikes, they're being responsible. Yes, and voting. Voting would be a right. When you turn 18, remember you can go vote for the government leaders. Okay? Then our rules, directions we have to follow at home and school, but not everyone has to follow it. Not every citizen. It depends on where you're at. And then a law are rules the government makes that everyone has to follow. Okay? So now we're going to talk about our government leaders, and we talked about the 3 levels of government. So who can remind me, what's our largest level of our whole country? What's that one called, Penny?
National?
The national government. So that's our whole country. What about, what's our next level that we talked about? Remember, Jasper?
President.
Not president. He's over the national government. What's that level? Where do we live at, Donovan? Local. Local, so that's our city. So Guyton would be our local government. What's that third one, Jasper? Do you remember this one?
The mayor?
He's in charge of the local government, but that's not the level. Remember the level, Blaine?
It is state.
State.
And then it's local.
And then local. So national is our whole country. Then we had state. What state do we live in, boys and girls?
Georgia.
Georgia. And then local or city. What city do we live in?
Guyton.
Guyton. Okay. So we're going to talk about what each leader does at each level. So they all have in common, all the leaders make sure that citizens, like me and you and your parents, all the citizens, that we obey laws. Okay? So first we're going to talk about
The national, state, and local are citizens. Yes.
Alright, so first our learning target and our success criteria. So today I'm learning to identify the leaders in our government, and I will know I am successful when I can identify the leaders in each level of government, when I can identify the city and building each leader works at, and identify services the leaders provide for us, the citizens. Okay? So first we're going to talk about our national government, our whole country. So this, who is this man?
Joe Biden.
This is Joe Biden, Jasper. And Joe Biden is who?
The president.
He's our president. So he's the leader of our whole country, of the national government. So this is what he looks like. And he just got recently elected, so he's our president now.
Was he the vice president?
Yes, so Joe Biden used to be vice president for Barack Obama when he was president. But now Joe Biden, he's our president now. Okay, good job, Major.
Is his assistant?
Yes, and his vice president is Kamala Harris. She's a woman. She's the vice president.
He's supposed to go vice president.
Yes, she's the first female vice president. Good job, Jasper. But right now we're going to focus on Joe Biden, our president. So this is a picture
Of the
of the White House.
in Washington.
And this is where Joe Biden works at, our president. He works at the White House, and it is in Washington, D.C. I want everyone to read this with me. He works at the White House in Washington, D.C. Okay? And one service that he can provide for the citizens, and that he does for us, he's the leader of the United States military. So our whole country, remember Natalia, how you said your dad was in the Army? So Joe Biden, or Lawrence, your dad's in the military too. He's the leader of the military. So he's kind of over your dad. He's doing what?
He's getting ready to deploy.
Oh, so he's getting ready to deploy
My
again.
mom already did.
Yeah. So some of your parents or your grandparents, if they were in the military, the president, he is over our military. Okay? So first we have national. What do you think? What's our next level?
State.
State. So let's look at the one for our state government. Right? So our state government, so the leader of our state government is our governor, and our governor, his name is Brian Kemp.
We talked about it.
Yes, we talked about him on Monday, remember? And this is a picture of Brian Kemp, okay? So Brian Kemp, he works at the state capitol building, and this is a picture of the state capitol building in Atlanta, Georgia. And you can tell, boys and girls, that this is the state capitol building. What color do you notice of the dome on top?
Golden.
It's gold. So you can kind of tell this building is special.
What's
It's a
when I was
gold
driving
dome. You see?
through Atlanta, I seen it.
Yeah.
Top of it. Because it was
It's
in
Yep.
Savannah, right?
It's in Atlanta, Georgia. That's our state's capital.
Okay.
So it's in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay? So, Brian Kemp, yes, Curtis?
Does he also live there?
He also, I think he might live in Atlanta. I'm not sure, but he works
Does he-
there.
What does
So if he works there, he probably has to live nearby, right?
Does he
Okay.
live in that?
He doesn't live in this building, he works. This is where he goes to work.
Why he might have his
So boys
house
and
in-
girls, how your parents, they go to work every day, but they live somewhere else. So you might live somewhere else and he drives to work and he comes here to work.
That's because I see a car.
Okay.
If your parents are-
So, one thing that Brian Kemp, our governor, can do, he can sign bills into laws only for our state of Georgia. So only the people in our state will follow the laws that he signs. So remember how Blaine and Lawrence, you told me you used to live in different states? So Blaine used to live in Michigan and you used to live in South Carolina. So if you live, so boys and girls, if you used to live in a different state, and Natalia, and Brian Kemp, Jasper, and Brian Kemp signed a law in our state of Georgia, only the people who live in the state of Georgia will follow that law. Okay? So if Blaine still lived in Michigan, would he have to follow a new law for Georgia?
No.
No.
I used to live in Hawaii.
Okay? Yeah, so, but now you live in Georgia, so now we have to follow the laws that Brian Kemp signed for us. Right? So we talked about national, we talked about state, now we're on local. So local is our city in Guyton. So local or city. This is a picture of the mayor. The mayor is the leader of our local government, and his name is Russ Dean.
Why does he get small?
Well, because isn't our local government a little bit smaller? So the building might just be a little bit smaller because it's only for our city. So this is a picture of where the mayor works, and it's called City Hall. So City Hall for the local government. So city is local, so City Hall. And this is in our city, Guyton, Georgia. Good. So the mayor, Russ Dean, he works with the city council. Remember Natalia? He works with the city council to make sure citizens follow laws in Guyton. So in our city. Okay? So he's the leader of just our city. Alright, yes, Aaron?
So if they work in the city hall like my uncle, do they get to leave the place and make sure everybody's safe in their where they live at? Well, like in their surroundings? He probably lives.
Yeah, so they will, if your uncle helps work for City Hall or City Council, he might help Russ Dean make sure that all of the citizens here are being safe and that they're being responsible citizens for Guyton. So only for Guyton.
So there's like no fire. But you can. What is
Yeah.
that Hinesville?
Oh, well then his would be for the city of Hinesville. Okay? So it's a different city, so that's a different local government. Okay? Government, and he's the mayor. So let's say this one together. He's the
Mayor.
He's the mayor. Okay? So now we're gonna practice a little bit. So I want you to quietly pull out your whiteboards and your expo markers. Go ahead and pull out your expo markers and your whiteboard. Thank you, Blaine, for waiting quietly. Thank you, Nolan and Jason, for being ready. Nakaya, is your whiteboard. C. So that clue, is that the president? Is that the governor? Or is that the mayor?
And never say it.
And 2.
Alright. 1, 2, 3. Please show me. I want to see what's on your board.
B. For question.
Lawrence, want to see what's on your board? Remember, when you hold it up, so I can see. Alright, good. Put your board down. So Kenny, if he's the leader of our entire nation and he works in the White House in Washington, D.C., who is that?
The president.
The president. Ooh. Go back. Can you go back one slide?
What's going on? No.
Hold on, no. All the way back. Yeah. So this is the president, Joe Biden. So this is a picture of our president, Joe Biden. Okay? Alright, so let's look at the next one. Alright? So it says, I work at City Hall in Guyton, Georgia. I have a city council that helps me make sure citizens in our city are obeying laws and being responsible citizens. So I want you to tell me, is that our president? Is that the governor? Or is that the mayor? Alright, 1, 2, 3. Please show me. I want to see what's on your board. Alright, good. Board's down. So Jesse, if you work at City Hall in Guyton, Georgia, who is that? The mayor. Does anyone, can you raise your hand and tell me? Does anyone remember his name? What's his name, Jesse? Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, Lawrence, do you remember? Russ Dean. Good. So Russ Dean. There we go. Russ Dean. So here's a picture of Russ Dean. So this is the mayor of Guyton. Okay? Let's do one more. So it says, I recently signed a new law that only the citizens in the state of Georgia must follow. I signed this law in the state capitol building in Atlanta, Georgia. So I want you to tell me, is that the president? Is that the governor? Or is that the mayor? The president, governor, or mayor? Alright, 1, 2, 3. Please show me. I want to see what's on your board. Alright, good. Board's down. Alright. So, Amira, if I find a law that only citizens in the state of Georgia have to follow, who is that? The governor. Does anyone remember the governor's name? Paula? Brian Kemp. Good. So, Brian Kemp. Okay. So, he's our governor. Alright? So, now that we've practiced a little bit together, now we're going to make a flip book where you will practice independence, okay? So everyone put your whiteboards away. And put your marker away. Oh, good. So I'm waiting to see all whiteboards away. If you're writing quietly, Tyson and Paula, just go ahead and put it away, okay? Alright, so before we start, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So we have our flip book here, and it opens up into 3 different sections. So the front cover says, My Government Leaders Flip Book. So you'll put your name at the bottom, okay? So you'll put your name. You'll go ahead and open it up, and it has 3 sections. So it has a section for national government, it has state government, and it has local and city government, and there are lines that you can write on. So it wants you to fill out the leader. So you have to put the leader, is that the president, the governor, or the mayor, for each one. So for the national government, you'll put the wants you to tell me, where do they work? So the city, where do they work at? So remember Washington, D.C., Atlanta, or Guyton? Then Tyson, figure it out. Then, where do they work at? The building, okay? So the building. So the White House, State Capitol Building, or City Hall. And then some services. And I have a word bank that I'm going to put up here on the board so that you don't have to ask how to spell and that you have all of your choices on the board, okay? So you will have all the choices on the board, okay? So this is your word bank, and it even tells you for who works at, where, and the services at the bottom. So this is your word bank. So everyone, you shouldn't have to ask how to spell, and you should know what goes in each blank, okay? Okay? So it even tells you the section that it goes under, alright? So, but it doesn't tell you if it goes under national, state, or local. So that's where you have to decide where does it go under, okay? So, when you get it, what's the first thing that you're going to do? Put your name on it. When you get it, go ahead and put your name on it. Yes, you can put president, and you can put his name, Joe Biden, okay? Well, when you open it up, you'll see the ornament, okay? That's what we're doing. I explained all the directions. I'll explain that when you're done. That's if you finish early, okay? Alright, so when you get it, go ahead and put your name on it. Okay? Does everyone have a copy? Alright. So, boys and girls, if you finish early, I'm going to set a timer and give you a certain amount of time. If you finish, if you notice on the back, it says, if I were a leader, you can write what you would do if you were a leader, and you can draw yourself a picture of yourself as a leader. But you have, that's only if you finish early, okay? So I'm going to set a timer. I'll give you about, we'll do about 8 minutes, okay? And listen, yes, you can write their name too. If we don't finish in the 8 minutes today, there will be extra time tomorrow where you can finish, okay? Alright? Not at recess. We'll give you extra time tomorrow, okay? So let's start, Jasper, with the national government. Who's the leader of the national government? Is it the president, the mayor, or the governor? So you'll write president. Okay, so something here. Is it the president, the mayor, or the governor? Yes, you can write his name. Where is going to be the city? Oh, I don't have it up yet. It's all up here. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and ask me, okay? If you want to. Remember, we're not making noises. Everyone needs to be working quietly. So now, where is the White House? What city? What's the city? What, under where? Is it Washington? Is it Guyton? Or is it Atlanta? You're right, Washington.
Okay.
do the services. So you have services. What do they do for us? At the bottom.
Do we have to write on sentences?
No, you write. I have the word bank up, so you'll write the word. Remember, we're working quietly, Natalia. Natalia, show me your knowledge on your lookbook about leaders.
Who has a green cup?
Leader of the national government.
Is the bell It's only genders. Yeah. Yeah, we have green notes to go next.
Remember, we're working quietly so that our brain is focused. Chandler?
Is this where the president's supposed to be?
Yes.
Oh, it's yours.
No, where do they work?
Okay, well, this is.
Okay. So this is the national, state, and now where do they work?
Mayor.
Who works at what building?
What is
Now where is Johnson or Atlanta? hear me clap once. Hear me clap twice. Remember, it's okay. We're not getting upset if we didn't finish, because we will have plenty of time tomorrow to finish our book, okay? If you did finish and you finished with the picture, you can turn it into the basket. If you did not finish, close your booklet and place it in your unfinished work folder. Okay. Everyone close your booklet and put it in your unfinished work folder. Thank you, Lawrence, for following directions, doing it quickly and quietly. You may come sit up. Thank you, Aaron, for waiting quietly. You can look up. Still waiting for a couple minutes. We'll go ahead and put it away. Alright, so we talked about the different leaders in each level of government. So we talked about the leaders in the national, in the state, and in the local. So I want you to go ahead and learn and tell your friends and your group, what did we learn about each leader in each different level of government? What did we learn today? Alright, hear me clap once, hear me clap twice. Alright, who wants to share with me what their group talked about, what we learned today? Blaine, what did your group say?
Well, we learned about who those leaders are,
Yes.
what they do, where they work at,
Peter,
location, what's their location of the state,
city that they work at. So he said we learned who they were, we learned where they worked at, the building that they worked in. And Natalia, we also learned about what city they work at. And then some of the services that they give to citizens, what they can do for us. Who remembers, what's the one thing that they all have in common? Someone remember? Donovan, what do they all have in common? They're all leaders. And what do they all make sure happens, Lauren? Well, they do that, but not just for the city of Gadsden. Mary, he doesn't ensure that. He does. But they all make sure, kind of similar to what you were saying, Lauren, but it's not just for the city. They all make sure that everyone, and so the president for the whole country, the state, so our governor is for our state of Georgia, and our mayor for the city of Gadsden, they all make sure that the citizens there, that we follow. Natalia, can you put your chair down, please? Can you sit in your chair correctly for me? They all make sure that we do what, Natalia? Do you remember?
Yeah.
That we all stay safe and we obey what? We have to obey the law. So they all make sure that we obey the laws. Okay? So, the next time that we're going to talk about this, you can remember that what each leader does for each different level. And then we'll even learn about next week about one of our presidents who was from the state of Georgia. So we'll even learn more about the president, Natalia, who was from the state of Georgia. Okay, so we'll learn what he did. Alright? So, this was kind of our first day or so learning about all this information. So, I want you guys to go ahead and do a self-assessment about how you feel about this content. So remember, number one means that you still need a lot more practice and we need to go over it more. So 1. A 2 means that you kind of understand but we still need more practice. A 3 3 means that I do understand, and a 4 is that not only do I understand, I can come over and teach the class about our government. Okay? I want you to hold it up on your chest. 1, 2, 3, or 4 on your chest, only so I can see. And remember, on your chest, it's okay if we're a 1 or a 2. So we just started learning about this, and we will practice even more.
And if you don't want to hold up one, you can hold up a 0.
Yes, and if you don't want to hold up a 1, we can always hold up a 2. Okay? So we'll practice even more about this. So you can go ahead and put your fingers down, okay? And you guys, alright? So we'll practice even more about learning about our leaders tomorrow. Okay? So great job with the lesson. And